Have you ever wondered how researchers study something as, well, as human as grief or joy, or even just what it's like to be a fan of a particular sports team? You can't just send out a multiple choice survey for that, right? You need a whole different set of tools. And today, we're opening up that very toolbox, the qualitative research toolbox, to see exactly how they explore the messy, complicated, and fascinating world of human experience. So let's dive in.
I mean, think about it. Numbers and statistics, they're great for telling you how many people did something, but they can't tell you why they did it, what it meant to them. That's where qualitative research comes in. It dives deep into those how and why questions. How do we make sense of our lives? What does it actually feel like to go through something? Answering those kinds of questions, well, that requires a very different approach.
And it really is like a toolbox. You wouldn't use a wrench to hammer a nail, would you? It's the exact same idea in research. A good qualitative researcher has to look at the job they need to do and pick the perfect tool for it. So for the next few minutes, let's pull two of the most important tools from this toolbox and see how they work and what they're used for. Okay, first up, we have a tool called Phenomenology. And I know that name sounds a little intimidating, but don't let it fool you. All it really means is that this is the tool researchers grab when they want to get as close as possible to a specific human experience and understand it from the inside out. The key word here is essence. This kind of research is all about finding the core, the shared truth of an experience. Let's say you're studying what it's like to be a first-time parent. Phenomenology would help you uncover those universal feelings that almost everyone goes through. That mix of late-night exhaustion and overwhelming love, the constant low-level worry, those sudden moments of just pure joy. It's all about capturing what that experience is truly like. And even within this one tool, there are a couple of different lenses you can use. On one hand, you've got hermeneutic phenomenology. Here, the researcher is kind of like an interpreter, finding the deeper meaning in the stories people tell. On the other hand, you have psychological phenomenology, where the researcher tries to step back as much as possible. Their job is just to present the person's experience as they described it, with very little interpretation. Now, to get that pure, unfiltered description, researchers use this really powerful technique called bracketing. You know that feeling when you're trying to listen to a friend's problem, but your own opinions and experiences keep jumping into your head? Bracketing is the formal process of recognizing all of that, all of your own biases, and intentionally setting them aside so you can truly hear what the other person is saying. So how do they actually do it? Well, it's a three-step process. First, the researcher has to acknowledge their own baggage, their personal experiences with the topic, their assumptions, everything. Then, they mentally put all of that into a bracket and set it aside. This frees them up to focus 100% on the other person's experience, without their own stuff getting in the way. All right, let's put that tool down and grab our second one. What if you're not just trying to describe an experience? What if you want to build a whole new theory from scratch, a theory that explains how something works? And what if you want that theory to come directly from people's real lives? For that job, you need grounded theory. This is what we call a bottom-up approach. So instead of starting with a big idea and trying to prove it, the researcher goes out, talks to people, gathers data, and lets the theory emerge directly from that data. That's why it's called grounded theory. It is literally grounded in the real-world experiences and actions of the people you're studying. And just like before, there's more than one way to do it. The systematic approach, which comes from Strauss and Corbin, is very structured. It's almost like building with a set of blueprints. You carefully code your data and build your theory piece by piece. Then you have the constructivist approach from researchers like Charmaz. This is more like sculpting. It sees the theory as something the researcher and the participant create together because their conversation actually helps shape the final result. So, we've got two really powerful tools. One for describing the very essence of an experience, and one for building a brand new theory from the ground up. The big question is, how do you know which one to pick? Let's put them side by side and make it super clear. Okay, let's break this down. It all starts with your goal. If your primary goal is to simply describe an experience, to get to its core, then you're using phenomenology. But if your goal is to explain a process by building a new theory, you need grounded theory. See the difference? One is focused on the what it's like, while the other is focused on the how it works. And this changes the researcher's job, too. In one, you're trying to be a neutral observer, setting your own views aside. In the other, you're an active builder, constructing a theory from the data. So what's the bottom line here? It's actually pretty simple.
There is no single best tool. It all comes down to the question you are asking. If your question is, what is this experience like for people? You grab your phenomenology lens. But if your question is, how does this social process work? You pull out your grounded theory kit. It's that simple. Your question always, always determines the tool.
So now you've got two new tools in your own mental toolbox. It kind of makes you look at the world a little differently, doesn't it? So here's a question for you. If you had the chance to be a researcher for a day, what human experience out there do you think desperately needs to be understood on a deeper level? What would you want to explore first? The possibilities, as you can imagine, are absolutely endless.